Manor Lords is one of the most anticipated and detailed city builders we have ever seen, and it can quickly become a huge task to manage your villages and towns as you spread across the map. So after my many hours in the game, I've now compiled some tips to help you survive and thrive when playing Manor Lords. Number 1. Now, I might be biased here, but eggs are very overpowered. Food is super important for your village to continue growing as you attract new villagers. By clicking on a house that has room for a backyard extension, you can pay 25 regional wealth to give the house a chicken coop, which will provide a constant stream of eggs, which will help support your food economy for years to come. I would personally make this one of the first things you do so that stream of food starts as soon as possible. Number 2, you might also be tempted to place vegetable plots as back garden extensions, but it's important to note that the yield is directly tied to the size of the plot. So you should only plant vegetables if you have large burgage plots with those back garden extensions. Number 3, don't be afraid to re-roll your starting region. If you spawn near bad resources or you had ambitions of being the biggest farm in the realm but your fertility sucks, just simply load up a new save and re-roll the spawn until you find your ideal setup. Personally, I find spawning near rich berries or rich animals to be quite a good start, with a rich iron deposit also being very valuable. Number 4, make the most of the rich resource deposits and tailor your village to process that resource. Rich animal and iron deposits are great for making money via trade to help keep your citizens happy and satisfied, especially as you move up to level 2 and the 3 houses. Number 5, don't worry too much about defending your first raid. There are only usually 1 or 2 bands of raiders, which can easily be disbanded with 1 unit of spear militia and 1 unit of archers is more than enough to defend against the first year of raiders. Mercenaries are expensive to upkeep at the start, and you won't yet have the treasury revenue to pay for them. Number 6. Or, if you don't want to fight altogether, you can simply play Manor Lords as a city builder without the RTS fighting element by selecting Rise to Prosperity as your starting template, and further customizing your sandbox options at the beginning of the game to make it that so there are no other lords or raiders present on the map. Number 7. Crop rotation is extremely important if you are wanting to farm. Endlessly planting and harvesting the same crop year after year will drain the field's fertility, giving you less and less yield as time goes on. To combat this, you should tick the option to rotate your crops out for fallow at least one of the 3 years, which will help replenish field fertility. Number 8. You can also help further regenerate this fertility by unlocking the fertilization technology, which allows you to use fallow fields as pasture for animals, which will rapidly increase this fertility. However, you must also have sheep present in your village, which can be acquired via the livestock trading post. Number 9. Don't forget about your development tree as your village moves through those early levels. Some of these techs are extremely useful in the early game. Some of the ones I would recommend would be forest management to double the capacity of all your berry deposits, this being especially useful if you have rich berries, and trade logistics to reduce the cost of all major trade routes to a maximum of 25 wealth. Without the trade logistics tech, these trade routes can cost hundreds of gold, so this is definitely one of the ones to consider. Number 10. In the early game, it is important to rotate your families between different buildings as you won't have enough people to stock every single job. Once your starting supplies have been housed in the granary and storehouses, you can then remove these families to go undertake other jobs across the village until you have a family surplus to stock everything you need. Number 11. You can press and hold tab on your keyboard for a quick overview of how many people are working and living in each building, plus you can also spot your animals a bit easier this way too. This is great for helping to visualize where people are going to and from and what exactly it is they're doing, whilst also getting a brief overview of how many people are exactly where. Number 12. Even if your starting province has bad fertility for a crop you want to grow, don't worry, just plant your fields and let them fallow for a number of years before deciding on your crop rotation. But for maximum efficiency, you only really want to grow crops on fertility that is light green or higher. Number 13. Don't be afraid of the raider camps that pop up across the map as you play. Sending just a couple of militia units to wipe them out will allow you to gain wealth by the spoils of war, where you can send the winnings either to your treasury wealth or your regional wealth pools, depending on what you need the most. This is also a great way to bag some extra influence so you can start to claim other provinces. Number 14. You only need to purchase trade routes for major trade items such as commodities and military equipment. You can still trade basic materials, crops and food without having to purchase the trade route, although purchasing them does guarantee a more consistent supply. Number 15. Don't forget to assign livestock to specific buildings after you purchase them if you want them to work at that building only. For example, buying horses for your traders to transport goods more efficiently is a great idea, but you must assign that horse to the trade post via the advanced tab on the building. Number 16. Be careful not to overhunt your wild animal deposits by setting hunting limits on your hunting camp. This will ensure that your hunters do not go below the set number and extinguish the resource. Number 17. You should also be careful about where people walk and how close you build infrastructure to your wild animals, as they can be scared away, causing the herd to migrate further away from your town. Number 18. The cobbler and boyar artisan upgrades available to level 2 burgage plots are a great way to make some early money selling shoes and bows via the trading post. Just ensure you have enough families in surplus to support these artisans. Number 19. Do not overbuild artisans once you have the opportunity to upgrade them at level 2 burgage plots. Once they are made into artisans, they cannot be removed and the house will need to be demolished, so make sure you can afford to lose that spare family from your working pool. Number 20. If you are unfamiliar with RTS fighting and tactics, there are some simple rules to follow. Put your spears at the front to take the brunt of the charge, support your spears with swordsmen, and keep your archers way at the back so they do not engage in melee combat. Archers will die very quickly if involved in hand-to-hand fighting. You can also move your archers around the side of the spears once the enemy is engaged to get shots at them from the side to do more damage. Number 21. Consider spending your regional wealth on recruiting and upgrading your retinue over hiring mercenaries. Unlike the different mercenary companies available, your retinue do not have a monthly upkeep and can be upgraded with better armor by your military supply chain and trade. Retinue are also very strong in battle. Number 22. Don't forget to check the upgrades of other buildings alongside your houses. Hitching posts can be upgraded into stables to hold more animals, forager huts can be upgraded with herb gardens, and storehouses and granaries can be upgraded to have larger capacities. Number 23. Consider placing your trading post as close to the external trade point as possible. This will reduce the travel time of all your merchants and traders coming into your village for trade. Number 24. Be careful not to raise your taxes too high. Taxation is one of the biggest contributors to disapproval in your village, causing your growth to slow down. They also remember high taxes for a very long time. 10% tax I've found is a good way to keep making some money while maintaining villager happiness and growth. Number 25. Your village will only grow if you have above 50% approval and have empty burgage plots for people to move into. Make sure you address anything that is making the villagers unhappy as soon as possible by looking at your approval rating at the top of the screen. Any urgent issues will also be highlighted as a red tab directly beneath the name of your province. Number 26. You must always have at least one unassigned family to help guide the ox around town and undertake construction. If all families are assigned to jobs, nobody is free to help build your new buildings. If you also find construction is slowing down, this may just be the fact that you need more families, or you may also need another ox, which can be purchased by your hitching post or livestock trader. Number 27. Be careful to make sure your logging camp and woodcutters lodges do not deforest land where there are animals and berries present, as they will scare the animals away and cut down the berry bushes, meaning you lose access to both resources. You can do this via the advanced tab on the logging camp and woodcutters lodges to restrict where exactly it is they work. Number 28. Don't forget to check the game's control menu to find some extremely useful shortcuts, such as using Z and X to control the speed of time, and using Q and E to assign and unassign families, making your Manor Lords experience much more fluid. Number 29. Add an extra level to Manor Lords' already outstanding atmosphere by enabling the cosmetic day and night cycle in the gameplay menu. It's a great idea for further enhancing your immersion. Number 30. Manor Lords has a fantastic road system that can be manipulated in a number of ways. You can hold control and scroll your mouse wheel to adjust how curvy the road will be. This will add several more natural desire kind of bumps and curves into the line as you draw it, or you can draw perfect straight lines with zero curvature. You can also hold Alt to delete roads, which will delete stretches of it in one go. Otherwise guys, that will do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let's please keep those Manor Lords tips and tricks coming in the comments. I want the comments to be a huge hive of just tips and ideas and advice that come in over the years, hopefully as Manor Lords grows and develops. This game is incredible and I hope you all get to enjoy it on the launch this week if you are watching on release. So get your tips and tricks down below as well. Also shout out to the patrons to support the channel if you're interested in that. Patreon and instant gaming below. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.